Pikmin 1 is the first Pikmin game, and in quite a few places it shows. Quirky AI, janky controls, and tons of weird glitches like Pikmin falling through the floor, ship parts clipping out of bounds, and just a bunch of other weird stuff.
What's going on?
The next entry, Pikmin 2, streamlined a lot of this. The Pikmin AI is way better and controls smoothly, and there's way less glitches that show up in regular gameplay. Unfortunately for Pikmin 1, it's been stuck with its weird AI and all of the other problems that came with it being the first Pikmin game for about 20 years now. If only Pikmin 1 could utilize the improvements made in its sequel. Well, meet Pikmin Squared, a mod that has fully remade Pikmin 1 inside of Pikmin 2. Pikmin Squared is a mod made by Pikhacker, known for other hacks such as Pikmin 251 and Colossal Caverns. Apparently everything related to this franchise is doomed to be met with several delays, as this mod was in the works for around 4 years, and its original release date was the first quarter of 2022, and it actually ended up releasing in the fourth quarter of 2024. In its development time, Nintendo announced and released Pikmin 4 along with a remaster of Pikmin 1 for the Switch. The long development time has allowed the mod to be thoroughly developed and bug tested, but will it be able to outclass the Switch remaster? Spoiler alert, yes. Along with being a full remake of Pikmin 1, it also introduces a new mysterious campaign called Louie's Quest, along with a built-in randomizer. The mod also has full 2-player support, so you can play Pikmin 1 with a fellow Pikman. Well, that is enough intro. It is a self-explanatory mod. It's Pikmin 1 inside Pikmin 2 within the heart of that same Pikmin 1. As always, before we begin, make sure to subscribe for high-quality Pikmin videos weekly, or else the video actually won't play. The thumbnail for this video was also done by Meme Lord, who has done quite a lot of thumbnails for my channel. Be sure to follow them if you can. Links in the description and comments. When you boot up the mod, you are greeted to a tile screen, and right off the bat there are a few settings you can fill with, such as turning on built-in widescreen and changing the carrying fractions to match the new games. There's also 2 secret menus that require you to get the best ending on both campaigns to unlock. Aside from that, there's not much we can do here aside from just starting the actual game, so let's get to that. Captain Olimar crash lands on PNF 404, and we are in the impact site for the tutorial. We have to restore 30 ship parts with a time limit of 30 days, and we utilize the Pikmin to help us. The dialogue boxes from Pikmin 1 are recreated, which is nice, and even in the tutorial you can notice the smoothness from both Pikmin 2's system and intentional changes made by the developers of this mod. Sprouts in the original Pikmin 1 would take an agonizing amount of time to fully uproot, but they uproot much faster now, and the devs added in the plucking mechanics from Pikmin 3, so you no longer have to aggressively slam the buttons every time you want to pluck Pikmin.
Fuck!
We unlock the red Pikmin here, who have an immunity to fire and deal more damage to enemies. It is a pretty seamless recreation of Pikmin 1's tutorial. All the cutscenes are intact along with box action, but yeah, it is just the tutorial and there's not too much to comment on here. I gather up a total of 25 red Pikmin and collect the main engine. You can still do this out of bounds trick here, which is pretty nice, and you also get to skip several cutscenes, which were never that annoying or frequent to Pikmin 1, but it is nice to be able to skip them. I would have been happy enough if they added back the graph from the end of day screen, but not only did they add back the graph, they added a bunch of other nice details to the end of day screen alongside the graph. Olimar had end of day notes in Pikmin 1, which could be read at the end of the day and in the map menu, but he also had a lot of easily missable notes about the enemies. In Pikmin Squared, the enemy notes replace the Piklopedia, and you can read them as long as you've encountered that enemy, which is an improvement. We are in the Forest of Hope. Forcefully, Olimar will be able to get out of this hope soon. Our goal is simple: get more reds, get some ship parts, and unlock yellow Pikmin, and maybe even the Forest Naval. You do notice a lot of these simple improvements if you play the original Pikmin 1, such as things like carrying and collecting objects. If you break pellet posies in the original Pikmin 1, the Pikmin just run away from them like it's about to explode instead of carrying them, and collecting specific objects can be a bit picky if you were throwing Pikmin at them. This mod takes away the unnecessary busy work of learning off all of Pikmin 1's AI quirks and just lets you focus on optimizing your general strategies and gameplay. The enemies also act exactly the same as they did in Pikmin 1. The devs made it so that swarming Bulborbs and Bulbears works just as it did in Pikmin 1, and the dwarf Bulborbs were given back their ability to wake up larger Bulborbs. There's even details that weren't necessary, like the health wheel being the same as Pikmin 1's, Bulborb's Dots Pulse, and Candy Pop Buds were fully remodeled to look like how they did in Pikmin 1, including the Queen Candy Pop Bud, which only shows up in the randomizer. These are details the devs could have gone away with not including, but they went out of their way to recreate them, which shows a great level of care put into the mod. After cultivating a few Pikmin and killing a few enemies, we get access to the yellow Pikmin, who have a longer throw height and are usually known for their resistance to electricity, but they don't really have that in Pikmin 1 and instead work with bomb rocks. Now I'm pretty sure we all know what bomb rocks get used for in Pikmin 2. But in Pikmin 1, yellow Pikmin could pick up bomb rocks and use them against walls and enemies, and occasionally you if you aren't careful enough. They work differently in the GameCube and Wii ports of Pikmin 1. On GameCube, if you whistle an armed yellow after throwing it, they drop the bomb to the floor and let it blow up, whereas whistling them in the Wii and Switch ports doesn't do this. This causes problems for both systems, as on GameCube transporting armed yellow Pikmin can be slow and annoying, and for Wii and Switch not being able to drop bombs immediately can create issues such as with bosses that need bombs for effective usage of killing them. Pikmin Squared does the best of both worlds. If you throw an armed yellow Pikmin, there's a 5-second period where whistling them will cause them to drop the bomb, but after that 5 seconds is up you can whistle them like a normal Pikmin. It's an intuitive system and I'm surprised Nintendo didn't come up with something similar for the Switch ports. With yellow Pikmin we can fully access most of the Forest of Hope, aside from sections containing water, and I get to work trying to sweep up 3 ship parts in order to unlock the Forest Naval. Pikmin Squared removes invulnerability from enemies, which is when some enemies would just refuse to take damage while attacking, and the game wasn't very nice with this system. I don't think bullbears with 1300 health need lengthy invincibility frames every time they attack. This does significantly change the sheer grubs and shearwigs, and they're much easier to deal with now, but I do think these guys should have kept invulnerability and made them more threatening, but not to an unreasonable degree. Anyways, we are able to collect the 3 ship parts and unlock the Forest Naval. Very nice. I was worried I wouldn't be able to do it. The Forest Naval, it's a step up in difficulty from the Forest of Hope, having more hazards and more threatening enemies as well. Our goal is to get ship parts, fight both bosses, and unlock blue Pikmin. I don't need to grow up any blues at the start of the day, so I pull out a mostly full squad of reds and yellows, but I did forget 5 Pikmin. This area is covered in bridges, bramble gates, and stone gates, so I like to get rid of those. I throw a few reds onto a few gates and bridges, and then put all my yellows onto this specific bridge and make my way to the first boss. The area is also covered in fire and fiery blowhogs, so reds are ideal here for transporting objects. On the way we see a wally hop, and they are running off of Pikmin 2's AI, so no swarming them unless you want to have your whole squad flattened. Not being able to swarm them does make them much harder, but is evened out by the improved Pikmin AI. The Puff Stool is our first boss. He is a giant mushroom that produces hazardous, mind-altering fumes, similar to the mushrooms Uncle Grippy is always eating. The most notable thing about this boss is he turns Pikmin into Puffmen, which have been recreated in this mod, which is more effort than Nintendo is willing to put into recreations of the Puff Stool.
What's going on, big guy?
It's nice to see the Puffman, but just like in Pikmin 1, this boss is easy and not very threatening. He's a pinch harder now because he can knock over the captain while tripping, but that's about it, and I deal with him pretty quickly. And while collecting his ship part, we also run to a bread bug and quickly sort him out as well. Now it's time to deal with our next boss, the Beetle Long Legs, which needs the bombs from the other side of the bridge we were working on. Pikmin 1 had the best Beetle Long Legs fight. They cut him from 3 and 4, and Pikmin 2's Beetle Long Legs fight evoked the same feelings as erectile dysfunction, so I am happy to report that the Beetle Long Legs is back to his former glory in this mod, complete with his leg wiggle. He's far more bouncy and active compared to Pikmin 2's one, and they also imported being able to weigh down his legs from Pikmin 1. A good amount of effort was put into him and it paid off. This fight was pretty fun. Defeating the Breadbug, Puffstool, and Beetle Long Legs deals with the most out-of-the-way parts, and we can now focus on growing blue Pikmin and having a few easy-to-get parts. Blue Pikmin are immune to water, which is used to block off certain ship parts, and with blue Pikmin we can basically fully explore any area. I did want to get 3 ship parts while growing up blue Pikmin, but I barely missed the Ionium Jet. As a kid, I always thought the Ionium Jet was one of those things that hold the egg for egg and soldiers, and I still see the vision. We are back in the impact site to collect the 1 remaining ship part and to grow our numbers up, mostly blue Pikmin as they will be the most important. The impact site is a really unique area as you are under basically no pressure, and it's the only area in the series that basically just serves as a break from the action. And I quite like that idea. They should probably bring something like it back in a future Pikmin game. The area is transported so seamlessly for this mod that there isn't even much to comment on. It plays the exact same as Pikmin 1 minus the AI quirks. The Pearly Clamp is back. Clamp your way over to this clamming pearl of a mod for clamp action unlike no other. In the European New Play Control port, this enemy is just called the Clamshell, which is why they got their tea thrown in the ocean. I grew up with that version, but I always called it the Pearly Clamp because I'm normal, and also probably because I never got far enough to see them as a kid anyways, due to my frequent habit of giving up at a mild inconvenience and then restarting the entire save file a few weeks later to play from the beginning, which I applied to every game I owned. The whistle is more responsive in this mod due to it running off of Pikmin 2's engine. In Pikmin 1 you'd usually have to press the whistle button 3 business days early if you wanted to have your Pikmin by your side on time. The impact side is simple enough, and I get the ship part swiftly and cultivate almost 400 Pikmin and over 100 blue Pikmin, which will come in handy. I usually head to the distant spring around this point in the game, but I decided to finish off the Forest Naval, which only needs 4 ship parts and one of those is right next to us. Getting the 2 bosses dealt with on the first day here gives you a large amount of leeway for this day, which is nice. The anti-deoxin filter is probably the easiest part to cheese in this game because you can just distract the wally hops instead of fighting them and just run off with the powers. Then we have the Libra and analog computer puzzles, and there is no nonsense with the Libra like in the original Pikmin 1. I did also have time to break down the remaining stone walls and unlock shortcuts while Pikmin were working on a bridge, which saved a bit of time, and the puzzles themselves are more enjoyable without the weird AI quirks. We wrap up the Forest Naval pretty smoothly. The last thing here to note is that the fire geysers are remodeled to resemble Pikmin 1's geysers as well. Hazards are also the same as the GameCube version of Pikmin 1, where you have about a second and a half to save the Pikmin, which I always liked. It made the hazards feel much more potent. The Distant Spring is Pikmin 1's most vast and formidable area. Compared to the other 2 main areas, it is big, unwelcoming, and doesn't have the word forest in its name. I bring in a squad of mostly blue Pikmin and a handful of yellows for bomb rocks and get to work on clearing the first half of the map, which is mostly desolate. 99% of the Distant Spring lives here. Find out why in this overly long history video. The devs also brought back the jolly jingle that plays when you kill an enemy with a parse. This shit part is a bit of a risk to collect if you haven't killed all the enemies in its path, but hopefully we will be fine. We also have this little puzzle here, but I was a bit sloppy with my swarming net to spend some time retrieving Pikmin who were stuck behind the puzzle. Well, it wasn't fine after all. A yellow wally hop killed a few of them. It's a feeling exclusive to Pikmin 1, taking a risk with something and then watching the counter drop a minute later while you're doing something else. It's time to get some bombs in the massage machine. The pathing of the massage machine completely ignores this bulbear in both the original Pikmin 1 and this mod, but if the devs wanted to be evil, they could have just reworked the pathing to run into the bulbear to mess up old players. However, the mod devs don't hate the players, so they did not do that. I break down the stone wall here and get to work on these bridges. I'm usually relatively low on time in normal Pikmin 1 at this part, but I had a good chunk of time here and I didn't know what to do with it. I just put all my blues on this bridge and used bomb rocks to destroy a few bramble walls on the other side of the map. While collecting the ship part that was locked behind the bridges, I forgot to kill these bulbears, so I had to improvise. That's the first day in the Distant Spring complete. Hopefully the next day will be our last. Second day in the Distant Spring, it's time for the iconic bulbear Blitzkrieg. They're still really tough enemies. I can never be bothered trying to manage them with blue Pikmin, so I always just nuke them with a full squad of reds as quickly as possible, which is handy as there is a fire section next to them which contains the armored cannon beetle. Another boss that was exclusive to Pikmin 1. He fires out boulders and you have to land a Pikmin in his air hole in order to expose his weak spot. Simple boss, and he was transported pretty well. Also brought out a few yellows for this puzzle here, which requires their extending throw height, and because we killed the bulbears and dealt with all the required walls, we can bring out a full squad of blues in order to finish out the rest of the map. There are still snitchbugs here, and they thankfully didn't get in my way that much. They've also had their model reworked to have the filthy gloss they had in the original Pikmin 1. There's 2 puzzles at the far end of the map. The first one I tackle requires converting our blue Pikmin into yellow Pikmin and using their throw height to get down the ship part. You're then supposed to convert them back into blues, but I don't have time for that. The other puzzle is pretty simple, just need you to throw some Pikmin up there and utilize a geyser to reach it. And with that, the Distant Spring is fully complete, but somebody on the internet told me this egg would give me 100 Pikmin, so let's check it out.
What the fuck is that?
The Smoky Prog is here and he's actually a lot more aggressive in this mod. In the original Pikmin 1 he'd usually just camp on the onions, but here he seems a lot more interested in you. His roar also scares Pikmin now. He's a challenging fight and I got quite a few Pikmin casualties from him, but thankfully I was able to defeat him in time and collect the mysterious seed. That will never not be satisfying. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time to pluck all those Pikmin, and I'm not coming back here, so 40 Pikmin will have to live the rest of their lives in the ground. Also, yes, I did beat the Distant Spring in 2 days and also fight the Smoky Prog.
Welcome to my world.
The impact site spawns in a secret enemy and a secret boss starting on day 8. I was on path for a nice 9-day run, so I copied my save file so I'd encounter them without ruining that. The first one is the Mamuta, who spawns in on even-numbered days. Despite already being fully implemented in Pikmin 2, the devs took some time to give him a lot of his animations from Pikmin 1, but aside from that he is just the Mamuta. His only attack is burrowing Pikmin. On odd-numbered days you get the Gulix. According to the developers, this was the hardest enemy to translate into Pikmin 2, but the final result is really good. To fight this guy you have to knock this ball into his nucleus, and he is surrounded by water, making him unkillable unless you have blues. When he dies, he drops the 2 balls in this mod, which give you quite a good amount of Pikmin. In the original Pikmin 1 he just dropped 4 randomly coloured fire pellets, which wasn't a very good reward. That deals with the 2 optional enemies in the impact site. Let's get back to our playthrough. Our final area before the final boss ends up being the Forest of Hope. I bring out a tricolour squad, and our goal is to sweep up the remaining 4 parts here, which will require killing 2 bosses. First one is the Armoured Cannon Beetle. This is supposed to be your first encounter with him, but there's nothing stopping you from finding one in the distant spring first. You also don't have to fight him, he doesn't have the shit part inside of him and can be ignored, but I decided to kill him out of the kindness of my heart. Next up is the Shock Absorber, featuring another enemy that can be ignored and peacefully spared. The Shock Absorber also likes making weird noises while being collected. On the way to the next boss we have to deal with a Cornucopia Bulborb, who I'll manage to deal with Deathless. Even this one that I let have an advantageous position because I had to get a clip of the Dwarf Bulborb waking him up. The Burrowing Snaggarts are also back to their former glory. They aren't too different from the ones in Pikmin 2, but the devs did add back Pikmin being able to attack their body, which doesn't deal much damage, and also being able to swarm onto their head for Pikmin 1's quick kill. There wasn't too much time pressure today, so I decided to kill all 3 Snaggarts, just for the fun of it. The final part here requires building some bridges, which I probably should have multitasked with the rest of the day, but it is what it is. I did actually go on vacation around halfway through my playthrough of this mod, and while on vacation, I ran into Ryan Gosling, which was pretty cool. I asked for his autograph, and he said, "Sure, just don't go clearing the distant spring in 2 days while also defeating the Smogy Prog. You made me jealous back there." And that was just a huge surprise. I didn't know he was a fan of my work. Anyways, we've gotten 29 out of 30 ship parts, and it's time to get the last one. The final trial is the final area, surprisingly, and we have one simple goal: clear the path to the final boss and kill us. In order to actually reach the final boss, you have to clear a puzzle, and it mostly went smoothly, aside from this. After clearing that puzzle, we pull out a full squad of reds and yellows in order to tackle the final boss, which is the Emperor Bulblax. He acts exactly how he did in Pikmin 1, but the overall improvements made to this mod actually make him way easier compared to the original Pikmin 1. I cleared him in like a minute. I thought you were stronger. The fight still works the same. You have to feed him lone bomb rocks in order to stun him, while avoiding his jumps and licks. After defeating him, you get Olimar's piggy bank, which is way bigger than Olimar. Fucker could have repaid the debt himself. Also, the devs made him make money noises. After getting all 30 ship parts, you get the best ending, and all the cutscenes have been fully recreated for this mod with a few changes, such as the credits being reworked to show the people who have worked on the mod, and the enemy reel being redone, and after all the cutscenes are over... Cool! We have unlocked Louie's Quest, the second campaign of this mod. The first campaign was obviously a sublime experience and probably the definitive way to play Pikmin 1. Feels really seamless, like an official remake of Pikmin 1, and it's definitely better than Nintendo's remaster for Switch. Let's see how the fully custom Louie's Quest is in terms of quality. Though if you want to experience this part of the game yourself, do be warned this section contains spoilers. Louie's Quest starts off with a fully animated cutscene done by Wooden Turtle. It's of a very high quality and has that lovely claymation style used in the old promotional materials for Pikmin 2. Louie crashes his ship, the Orca, into an asteroid, and along with losing its ship parts, he also loses a supply of golden pick carrots as well. We land in the first area. All of the areas are remixes of ones from Pikmin 1. The Sugar Crash is a remix of the impact side, and we start off with yellow Pikmin instead of reds. Louie also gives us custom dialogue throughout the tutorial. The Pikmin just drank that yellow stuff. Nana always taught me not to drink suspicious looking yellow liquid, but I guess they must like us.
What the fuck?
The tutorial here is pretty simple. We only need 15 Pikmin for the engine, but there are hidden white pellets scattered throughout the map that let you get up to 20 Pikmin, along with eggs that produce suspicious looking yellow liquid that let you get flower Pikmin on the tutorial, which significantly speeds things up. We crash through the Sugar Crash and we are on to the next area. The Bounty of Grub is the Forest of Hope, except it is now a swamp. I do like how Olimar's names for the areas are more reflective of his journey, while Louie's names for the areas are just food related. The modeling and texture work on these custom areas are simply sublime and could easily pass as official content. With almost any video game mod, if it has a custom map, it is usually clear that's off. Not saying that they are bad, in fact they are always impressive, but you can tell that they are fan-made. And this is not an insult to other mods, they do have smaller teams and would be hard to replicate all of the details of a mod to make it fully and seamlessly blend in, but I am saying that this mod's models, texturing and lighting are very impressive. Louie's Quest also has custom music for basically every song in the original Pikmin 1, and I liked all of the songs. They even changed the Swarm jingle to match the main theme of Louie's Quest. The start of this area is basically just going through the forest of hope backwards, and instead of bulborbs we have to deal with the much more formidable bears. I mostly try to steer clear of the big ones, but I did kill one with the power of leftover bomb rocks. We need 2 ship parts to get to the next area, and the first one I got was next to a Mamuda and 2 Wallyhops. I tried to ignore the Wallyhops, but that didn't work out well, and when I eventually decided to fight them, they were too far from their puddle, and this happened. I probably should have just fought them to begin with, but it is what it is. Half the area is covered in a lake of water, but I was a bit sluggish today and missed the clogged hole that drains it, which was my fault. After draining it, most of the area is accessible now aside from the remaining sections of water, but we don't have much time, so I'm only able to crush this bag and build a bridge. Probably could have done better, but it was my first time playing. We are back in the Bounty of Grub and on the lookout for some ship parts, the first one being right next to us. There's also water dumpos. I didn't really bring them up yet in this video because they're basically the exact same in every Pikmin game, and Pikmin Squared isn't an exception. There was actually a Wallyhop directly next to the part on day 2, and he seems to despawn on day 3, so maybe playing socially wasn't that bad after all. We get our first custom enemy for the mod, which is the Rock Shooter, an enemy that appears to be invulnerable and spews out an unlimited supply of rocks. If he looks familiar, that's because he is a direct port of an unused enemy in Pikmin 1 known as Iwagen that acted and looked exactly the same. The Rock Shooters, some bullbears in a scale puzzle are blocking the route to a boss fight, and when we get there we see another new enemy known as the Truffle Puff, who is fully original. He's basically the Puff Stool if it was an actual boss fight. He has more health, attacks way more frequently, and I did get my ass handed to me with this guy and had to embarrassingly reset the day twice. Despite being complete shit at it, I did really enjoy his fight. I've always wanted a buffed version of the Puff Stool, and this guy fulfills that want very well. Definitely better than whatever this is. Also, I'm pretty sure that this is my 7th video where I shit-talk the Puff Stool. I never do it on purpose, it just always ends up happening somehow. Best strat for this guy is to only bring flower Pikmin as they can run away from his fumes better, and you should be hesitant to attack him with your full squad, as he can easily counter it and turn your squad back on you. This was a good boss fight. After those 2 parts, there is only one part that I can collect here that I don't know of yet, as it is pretty hidden, so I thought I was done here. However, there is a smoky prog egg that can be reached with yellows, and I thought it might have had a shit part, so I decided to crack it open. It's basically the exact same smoky prog fight as before, but I had to fight him with only yellows, which is difficult due to their throw heists, and he did wreak havoc. I did eventually learn how to time my yellow Pikmin throws with him and defeat him. He managed to kill 40 Pikmin, but he still does drop the seed that produces 100 of them. And he did not drop a shit part, but he did drop the Pluckaphone. This is an upgrade from Pikmin 2 that lets you quickly uproot Pikmin sprouts via whistling. It is also unused in the original Pikmin 1, being seen in pre-release gameplay clips and can be easily turned on by changing the files, which is probably why it is included in this mod. Time is running out, so it's time to wrap up, and we did manage to get enough ship parts to access the next area. Next up is the Cavern of Candy, which is a remix of the Forest Naval, except it feels more mystical with there being fog in some sections and crystals scattered around the map. It reminded me of SteamWorld Dig for some reason. We are immediately greeted by the giant bread bug and his 2 half-baked followers. This mod imports the extra hand ability from Pikmin 4, allowing Louie to assist the Pikmin with carrying. Pretty neat. This was never really the most helpful ability, but it was pretty funny. I spent the first chunk of the day dealing with the giant bread bug while also cutting down some bramble gates and exploring. You will also notice that Louie's quest throws some electricity into the mix, a hazard that was well known in Pikmin 2 and it's the exact same as Pikmin 2. If you're careful though, it's not much of an issue. One thing I did not like about the Cavern of Candy was the bomb rock usage. There are 3 places where you can get bomb rocks, but 2 of those are already behind stone walls, and on the first day you have access to a total of 6 bomb rocks, which is only enough to destroy 1 wall. The red onion, which unlocks the red Pikmin, which are pretty vital to this area, is behind a stone wall, but if you break down the wrong wall, are more likely to lose 1 or more bomb rocks, which is pretty easy considering the game just plops a Gulix right in front of them. You can't access the red onion and have to come back another day. I ended up running out of things to do today as I could not access the red Pikmin or any more bomb rocks. I was able to get 2 more ship parts. You do need to get the majority of the parts here in order to move on to the next area. I had to collect 6 here to move on. Both the ones I collected were in the same section, and they were located next to a few dwarf orange bulborbs and inside of a greater spotted jellyflows. Both these enemies originating from Pikmin 2. I also had to do some intense Gulix dodging in order to get the jelly float ship part. We are able to unlock the Red Onion and Red Pikmin today. The Pikmin are all unchanged except for the introduction of electricity, and despite there being white pellets, there are no white Pikmin. Those are only there to give you less Pikmin. I yet again ran out of bomb rocks today and couldn't progress. This one was a bit more my fault, as I did use them all on stone walls and just assumed that the wall that blocked off the next 2 ship parts would be a bramble gaze, which it wasn't. I was only able to collect 1 ship part here, and then I ran out of things that I could do aside from growing up more red Pikmin. Another side issue I have with Louie's quest is the radar. In Pikmin 1, it's usually given to you on day 2 and lets you view the map. In Louie's quest, it is held off for a pretty long time. It can make planning the day and tracking your Pikmin pretty hard, as you don't have access to the map screen. And I also think it should have been given to you on day 2 as well for Louie's quest. We are back in the Cavern of Candy in order to collect the final 2 ship parts needed to unlock the next area. Instead of water here, there is a gang of dweevils. Louie's quest also throws in the rare hazard of poison, which we won't have any Pikmin that are immune to it, so we have to be careful. The Libra puzzle is also the same, but it's tweaked to only need red and yellows instead of all 3 types. Carrying back the parts with yellows is ideal due to the Anode Beetle Jamboree in the middle of the map. After collecting those 2 parts, we can now access the next area. Next up is the Giant's Dessert, a remix of the Distant Spring with a desert theme, and this is also where we unlock blue Pikmin. We can't really do much on our first day here aside from unlocking and growing blue Pikmin here, as the map is still covered in water. We get a new set of enemies here, such as the Cloaking Burronets, Withering Blowhogs, and the 2 Cannon Larvas. It is nice to see some enemies from Pikmin 2 get utilized in these maps, and they are used well here. They never felt out of place. While some Pikmin are breaking down the gate, I go over to this long section here to collect a ship part which is on land. This requires getting through some rock shooters who have been retextured to match the area's aesthetics, which is a nice detail. You cannot collect the ship part without blues, as the rock shooters' boulders block the paths, and the Pikmin will go straight to the water. But I'm pretty sure it's still optimal to do it without blues, as the reds can kill the nearby enemies quicker, and it's easier to multitask at the start of the day. There's a geyser near the wall that lets you immediately access the blue onion before the gate is destroyed, which is handy. Now all there's left to do is to grow some blue Pikmin up before the day ends. You can't do much without them here. The rock shooter puzzle and this entire blue onion section were sections of land that were out of bounds in the original map, which is nice. We are back in the Sugar Crash to collect the 1 remaining ship part there. It's basically the same as the extra day in the Impact side. You have to solve a brief puzzle and you get ample time to grow up more Pikmin. The puzzle here requires killing a fiery Bulbax by dragging it into the water and then dragging it 6 feet under with blue Pikmin. A detail I almost missed is that the layout of this map changes every single day by adding new enemies into the circle. I came here on day 8 where a Mamuta is spawned in just like the Impact site, but it does actually change every single day, which is cool. Anyways, that wraps up our brief visit to the Sugar Crash. We are back in the Giant's Dessert, and I immediately head out to retrieve the ship part I had partially collected earlier. There is also a burrowing Snaggart in the spout of the Smoky Prog. On defeat, he drops 3 white pellets, and he also blocks 0 carrying routes. Why is he here? We then deal with the same puzzle from the Distant Spring, but with added fire, and then head back to the Blue Onion location to deal with our next boss, the Decorated Canbeal, and he's fully custom again. I like his design, but I did not like this fight at all. The gimmick is that you have to direct his boulders into his back in order for him to expose his weak point. This is already hard enough to accomplish, but it's made harder by him being really bulky, and he can easily crush the boulders with his legs. And the actual hitbox on his back is small and can be unnecessarily picky to hit. He's also moving around constantly and firing extra boulders, making it really hard to aim the boulders at his back. He has an air hole which you'd think would be able to stun him and keep him still, but only keeps him still for a good second, and he's already on the move before you can utilize it. When he is vulnerable, he jolts around really quickly, making him hard to hit, and there is also often a boulder spawned in chasing you, making it really hard to actually land any Pikmin on him. The boulders in this arena don't break off the walls, they can chase you for quite a while. Couple this with his low vulnerability time and high health, and this fight was just pretty tedious and took up most of the day. I wouldn't even really describe it as hard, it was just tedious. I didn't have time to do anything else after fighting him, so we'll have to come back here later. Back to life, back to reality, back to the Blue Onion to get the Deoxin filter. After getting that, I noticed that there is a treasure that needs yellows to reach, and I did waste a good amount of time getting it, which is all my fault because the game literally puts a yellow candy bot bud before us. A not so subtle hint on what Pikmin you should bring. Lost a bad amount of time getting it, which is embarrassing. The other half of the map is being barricaded by a stone wall, and we need to find some bomb rocks by utilizing our blues. A lot of the puzzles here are similar to the ones in the distant spring, but with new slight twists to make them more difficult. I had the exact right amount of yellows for this one until someone did this. I found the bomb rocks and also entered this boss arena as I was expecting a Beetle Long Legs. Nope, it's the Scorching Snitchbug, another custom enemy. He looks like a warrior wasp. I like warrior wasps, they're my favorite breed of wasp, but I fucking hate wasps. They should actually turn these things into Pikmin enemies. Look at this shit, look at it. They're marching their wings, and then like, they're warning this guy by marching his wings, and then, whoa! Look at their chasing out. It's perfect for Pikmin. Yeah, so that's why I like warrior wasp. We need reds for the Scorching Snitchbug, and I don't have time to get reds, so I just destroy the wall and let time run out. Could have done better here, as I did waste a lot of time in that yellow Pikmin puzzle, which was my fault. I was playing a bit sloppily the previous days, but I was a lot more smooth today and had the simple goal of fully finishing off the giant's dessert. The Scorching Snitchbug is presented as a boss, but he's quite weak and gets dealt with quickly and with no Pikmin deaths. Fuck you. He dropped a very small gear, and there are a few easy to nab ship parts close enough to him as well. If the Scorching Snitchbug only being used as a boss seems weird, that's because that's not what happens. If you get past day 15 here, it'll start spawning elsewhere on the map as a regular enemy. Then we get the final two puzzles here. We have to bring reds over to get this ship part down, and I was feeling nice so I let them live this time. I like this puzzle where you have to use a stick to slowly get your Pikmin to one side of the weighing scale while you make your way to the other side. It was clever, and with that the giant's dessert is finished, leaving us with 2 areas left to clear. We are back in the Cavern of Candy, and due to the sheer volume of ship parts you are required to get here in order to progress earlier, your visit is guaranteed to be pretty easy, only needing 3 ship parts and a mostly full squad of blues. First off is the pilot seat, and Louie's seat is far more luxurious compared to Olimar's dinky seat. You do need yellows to break down a stone wall, but it's simple enough, and same with the 2 that require you killing a Gulix and a Pearly Clamp. The Gulix is the one that drops the radar, which is good to know for replays, but aside from that our brief visit here was pretty simple. I guess you could say we ate up the Cavern of Candy. You return to the Bounty of Grub in order to finish off the remaining ship parts that are located in water, the most notable of them being this boss arena. Let's check it out. This is the Flathead Long Legs. If he looks familiar, that's because he is an unused enemy from Pikmin 3 this time. Whenever I saw the design and concept for him, I always kinda stuck up my nose at it and just thought it looked ridiculous and seemed too weird and impractical. But actually fighting it and seeing it in action has made me realize that this is a really fun fight. You have to throw Pikmin at his head, which deals a bit of damage, and then that'll cause him to shake off and land his fat head on you. And then you just have to throw Pikmin at his tender pink spots. It's a simple but fun fight, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm sorry for judging you back then, Flathead Long Legs, you're pretty cool after all. The rest of the day was just spent dealing with some simple ship parts in the water, and we did get close to fully clearing the area, but we did miss 1 part. We're back to collect the final part here, and it's probably the most hidden, especially if you don't have the radar. I did say that the rock shooters appeared to be invincible, but looks can be deceiving. If you throw bomb rocks at them, you can damage them, and if you kill this specific rock shooter, he drops a parse. Not too hard to figure out if you have the radar, but this would probably be a needle in a haystack without it, which is another reason it should be given earlier. Anyways, we've got 29 out of 30 parts, and it's time to finish off Louie's quest. The last course is the final area, and it's a remix of the final trial, containing a more autumn vibe akin to the Wistful Wild. Yet again, we have to solve a puzzle in order to reach the final boss. I like this one more than the final trials one. There's no weird yellow Pikmin throws required, and it does flow a bit better. Anyways, after the brief puzzle, it's time to face off against the final boss. It's the ravenous space bunny from Louie's report to what happened to him and the carrots in Pikmin 2. He has 4 attacks, shooting out carrots that have elemental properties, slamming Pikmin into the ground to bury them, eating buried Pikmin, and burying through the ground, which also kills buried Pikmin. He can also eat his own elemental carrots and restore health from them, so it's best that you destroy them as quickly as possible. If you went out of your way to get the pluck phone from the Smoky Prog, then this fight becomes much easier, but getting the pluck phone probably won't be a guarantee every playthrough, especially if you want to beat the game quickly, so there is a bit of difficulty scaling with this boss. He is a simple enough final boss, but there's nothing wrong with that, and his fight is very enjoyable. He did start switching things up when his health got low. Fucker pulled out a boulder and threw it at me, but after a good amount of time he is defeated, and we successfully retrieved the golden pick carrots, which also make money sounds. Most of the ending cutscenes here are the same, but you do get a bonus enemy reel and an extra shot of Louie eating the pick carrots, all that effort for nothing. Louie's quest was a fun time, and while I did have a few issues with it, it was still a positive experience with fun maps, enemies, and music. The things you unlock in the settings menu are a jukebox and a few gameplay tweaks like changing up the models, making the Pikmin go pale like how they did in the original Pikmin 1, and also pluck cancelling from Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I wasn't planning on playing the randomizer, but I was enjoying my time with the mod and actively wanted to play more, so I decided to do a run. There are a lot of settings here, stuff like changing the ship parts to treasures, adding purple and white Pikmin, being limited to only 50 of each type and not being allowed to grow more, adding every single enemy from Pikmin 2 and Louie's quest into the mix, and a bunch of other ones. I was originally going to do a run with basically every setting turned on except for the 50 Pikmin one, but that ended up looking like this. Yeah, it's a bit much, so I decided to tone it down a little. The randomizer with every setting turned on will probably be a story for another day, so it probably won't be the last time we see Pikmin Squared on this channel. We crash on PNF 404 for the last time in this video. I'm sure you get the gist by now. I'm playing the randomizer which juggles ship part locations, ship parts are replaced with treasures, there are enemies from Pikmin 2 and Louie's quest, and we also have access to purple and white Pikmin. Small enemies replace other small enemies, big enemies replace other big enemies, and bosses replace bosses, just like the old Pikmin 1 randomizer. But now the game has a lot more to work with. Olimar is also given a green Seuss and light for the randomizer, reminds me of someone. The impact side obviously wasn't that bad aside from these botched dwarf bulborb snipes I attempted. You get the purple and white Pikmin via Queen Candy Pop Buds that spawn near the ship, and these also let you convert your Pikmin to any type you have unlocked. These are from Pikmin 2, but they behave differently. They don't despawn, and they do not give you additional Pikmin. They just convert them for this mod. When you get a Pikmin 2 type, Olimar says he feels a disturbance in the timeline. The impact side is a breeze, and we only have to deal with a handful of enemies, and we leave the area in the span of 5 minutes. The graph also displays purple and white Pikmin, and they are both stored in the ship. The randomizer also can spawn in Bulbmin, which it didn't for me, but they work the same as in Pikmin 2, and they aren't stored after collection or accessible through the Queen Candy Pop Buds. It's purely up to luck if you get them. Next up is the Forest of Hope, and I got a really good generation for this one, consisting only of pretty weak enemies and allowed me to go through it very quickly. Nothing that notable actually happened here. I was able to just breeze through the area, unlocking yellow Pikmin, collecting a total of 5 parts, and unlocking the Forest Naval. An enemy worth noting is the Careening Dirigibug, who is an enemy from Pikmin 2, and he could be quite difficult in that game as he would drop bombs near you that would activate and explode after the timer went out, and he would just absolutely litter the map with them. Due to how bomb rocks work being changed to match Pikmin 1 in this mod, this guy is rendered basically harmless and becomes an infinite bomb rock generator, which is really helpful. Leave one Pikmin near him and he'll just drop bombs that you can use until he reaches the limit of bombs that can be spawned and starts throwing air instead. These guys replace 2 big enemies here, making our trip to the Forest of Hope very easy. We are in the Forest Naval, hopefully no threatening enemies spawn in. Well, we all know who that is, time to bring out some purples. I think turning on Pikmin 2 enemies and none of the extreme settings actually make the randomizer a bit easier because you get a bigger selection of enemies that get spawned in, and it's less likely for bad ones to spawn in, whereas with this turned off you only have Pikmin 1's small pool of enemies. And it wasn't infrequent for the Pikmin 1 randomizer to spawn in like 2 bullbears in a small condensed piece of land with an armoured cannonball nearby and a smoky prog spawned in as the boss. If you do have all the settings turned on, Pikmin 2 enemies are much better though, as shown earlier. Well, that's nice. The other boss that got spawned in was the Smoky Prog in egg form, which is basically just free, and I did hype him up a bit, but the Water Wraith is also easy as long as you have purple Pikmin. He is probably the most surreal enemy to see in Pikmin 1. We also got another free unpatched unlimited bomb rock generator working, no malware 2014. He upped us out greatly with quickly destroying basically every single stone wall. One thing about this generation that was not good was the blue onion, which was next to a fire geyser and an electric wire. on top of being next to nothing that one blue Pikmin can carry, and because the onion isn't water, no Pikmin could help them either. The closest thing our lone blue Pikmin could carry were these incorrectly colored 1 pellets, and they'd have to go through a long hike and go past 3 oatmeals in order to get just 1 blue Pikmin. I did not have time to jump through all those hoops and hurdles, so I instead converted a good amount of my red Pikmin into blue Pikmin with the Queen Candy Pop Bud, which was faster and basically our only practical option. Game spawned a puffy blowhog Bloister and an antenna beetle in the impact side. Yeah, not much action here. Well, one thing that is worth noting is the ship's model actually changes the more ship parts you collect, and because we change those to treasures, Olimar ship becomes a lot more quirky. Seeing a giant diamond stick out of it made me laugh, and it's only gonna get worse from here. A Gatling groink, exactly what I want to hear when I first land. Now for fuck's sake, get better material! Aside from those two, the randomizer was kind of cooking up a pretty decent distant spring. A greater spotted jelly float replacing the puffy blowhog makes sense, and it replaced 2 fiery bulblaxes in separate locations, both of them next to pools of water, and everything else wasn't too out of place for the distant spring either. It had a surprising amount of cohesion for a randomizer. Not all of them made exact sense, like a volatile Dweevil in the middle of the water. Someone got a haircut. He still works as normal unlike the careening Dirigibug. We didn't reach the water rate today, and the Gatling Groink was too busy going to town on the yellow puzzles, so this was a pretty easy day. I utilized the same strategy as normal for the second day, that is killing all of the remaining enemies at the start of the day with red Pikmin and then dealing with the boss, who as we know is a water wraith and he goes down pretty easily. He did stay in his arena for the entirety of the distant spring and never broke loose, which is good. Then I put away my reds for the... Unlike the original Pikmin 1 randomizer, this mod doesn't randomize the candy pop buds used for puzzles, which is nice, and I clear up the distance spring pretty quickly. Our ship is really starting to look absolutely hideous now, being covered in a variety of treasures. It looks like an I Spy photo that got put in a hydraulic press. We get our first bad generation, as the armoured cannonball in the Forest of Hope was replaced by a ranging Bloister. He's from Pikmin 2 and his gimmick is that you have to distract him with 2 captains. He's a piss easy boss, but only if you actually have 2 captains, and we do not. The fight consisted of about 4 minutes of running around this oversized Maroomba and trying to bait him into attacking, because that's the only opportunity you have to attack him. Not really hard, but pretty tedious, and we lost a good few Pikmin. The other boss was replaced by a Puffstool, which was much easier to deal with, and we got to nuke 5 enemies here. Aside from the Bloister fight, this day went smoothly. Our second last day is spent in the Forest Naval, which yet again we don't have too many parts left to collect. He almost forgot he was vegan. Watery blowhogs in the water. Seriously, these game designers aren't just the circus, they're the entire clown. I've had some bad memories with the Libra puzzle with previous randomizers, but thankfully it went off without a hitch here, and there was no fire spawned in either, allowing us to only bring yellows and blues. We got a good generation and cleared the Forest Naval quickly. Time to face the final boss of Pikmin Squared. The puzzle in the final trial is mostly the same aside from the fire section, as the fire geysers are randomized and it creates stuff like this. There is also something I missed here, and that is this bottle cap that spawns in. If you collect this bottle cap, you are sent right back to the impact site on the day you're on right now to initiate a new lap of the randomizer. You get to keep all your Pikmin, but all 30 parts respawn, and you have to try and see how many laps you can do of the game before reaching the 30-day limit. It is a cool feature, but it is pretty hidden. There should probably be a disclaimer about it before starting the randomizer. And it would probably be a bit jarring to collect this not knowing what it is, and just immediately get booted to the impact site. Anyways, the final boss is the Man at Legs from Pikmin 2. It does kind of fit with the arena's theming. He was actually kind of threatening until I quickly realized that the edge of the arena blocks his bullets, so it wasn't that bad. Anyways, for the last time we have collected 30 ship parts. Olimar flies away in his phallic spaceship and he gets to live happily ever after. For about 10 hours until his boss makes him do it all again. Pikmin Squared is a truly great mod of Pikmin 2. Not only do you get the definitive way to play Pikmin 1, you also get a bunch of bonus content and a built-in randomizer with a bunch of settings. It's clear that the 4 years developing this mod were well spent. If you have the Pikmin cravings, you should give this mod a play. It's not very long, but there is a good amount of content in it, and it's pretty replayable as well. I highly enjoyed my time with it. Hopefully the developers will be able to recreate Pikmin 2 in this engine soon. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for high quality Pikmin videos weekly, or else I'll turn you into a square. Also, while the credit members are rolling, Tree People gifted quite a lot of memberships, as you can see, during a stream. Well, I need to fill time, so apparently Nintendo's shutting down Punch-Out. And you know, fuck, they don't call me I'm only here for Punch-Out for Pikmin for no reason. Now I don't know if these rumors are true, but like, you can't just shut down Punch-Out. It's been like, the Pikmin fans complained about it being 10 years since we got a game. Punch-Out fans, it's been like, I don't know, 40 or something. And it's just not fair on the Punch-Out fans. I want a new Punch-Out game. Apparently people complained that the Wii one was offensive. Which, first of all, I don't recall anyone complaining about that. And also, it wasn't offensive. So yeah, that's an unscripted rant to fill time. If you want me to make an I'm Only Here for Punch-Out channel, let me know in the comments. Alright, bye.